All right, Mac Audina, welcome to Someday is Today. This is the show where we encourage everyone to live their best lives, and we're here to remind the audience to do just that. Welcome, Mac.
Thank you, my co-host or my fearless leader. Yeah,
That's a good
living your
one.
life. Oh, I like it. All
Fearless
right,
leader.
fearless leader. We'll go with that one.
I thought you were going to say my wife, because that should probably be your primary, maybe my partner, your primary. What would be the word? Would this be an adjective for me?
Well, it would be I guess your title,
My
your
title.
role, my how I identify you and what your role is.
Yes.
Should you be wife? I don't know.
Partner in life.
Partner in life.
Best
Okay, I like
friends.
that. I like that.
Partner in doing this living your best life thing.
Partner in life.
Partner in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
Soul supporter.
Like, as in, like, the only supporter or, like, the supporter of my soul?
Soul. Yeah, I actually think that's a much better title, I will say. Because I feel like I want to support your soul's desires. Soul supporter.
Got it. I still like partner in life. I ain't gonna like
That's
that.
gonna be my title.
Partner on this journey of life.
Moving forward, I am going to be introducing you as my double S, soul supporter.
Okay.
Don't be surprised.
I don't know.
Whatever. We're just gonna keep it moving.
I'll just take soul supporter.
Soul supporter. Yes. So that's gonna be my title for you moving forward. But welcome. So let's check in. How are you doing?
How am I doing?
This is we're 2 months in to quarantining, COVID-19 completely taken over the world. And we've been staying home
Yeah.
for the most part. So I think we did an episode maybe when we were about a month into it. And I felt at that point we were doing okay.
Yeah.
How are you doing now? What's an update?
Still doing well. Probably getting a little too comfortable with where I am right now, in the sense that, you know what, like, I hear talks of opening things back up, and I'm like, no.
I know. Isn't that kind
And,
of scary?
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
It's gonna take some adjustment. Then there's also, like, I have goals of, like, not returning to work and, doing my own thing full time, and I'm like, damn, that's fastly approaching. And, once things open back up, like, I really got to be on my grind. And so that's also kind of anxiety provoking. And then, so, like,
Which part is anxiety provoking? That you got to be on your shit, or that?
Yeah, both, I guess. I got to
Okay.
be on my shit. I got to, leave the security of, an income. And then, a known income every 2 weeks. And then, not necessarily, because we've been also, part of the update I want to say is that we've been having a freaking good ass time. And at times, like, I think we were talking about this morning, is like, are we having
Are
too
we
much
doing
fun?
too much?
So, I mean, but we are
Are we
supposed to
doing too
be
much?
living our life like it's a fucking dream vacation, or like it's a fucking vacation.
It's short. Yeah, the dream
So,
part keeps
yeah,
sneaking in.
Mike keeps on,
It's
butting in.
felt like a vacation, but I will say, and I know I'm gonna let you finish, and I've heard that I tend to cut in, so I'm gonna try my best not to, as much as
Who
possible.
told you that?
Remember Nubia? Nubia was
Oh,
saying that, God, you don't let
your
people
daughter.
finish. Yeah. So
'Cause your
that's gonna
daughter
be.
loves me.
She does. She does love you.
Mm.
But who doesn't? I mean, you're pretty lovable.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome,
A
soul
lot of people,
supporter.
but
You said a lot of people don't love you. I don't think that's true. I don't know that I've ever met anyone who did not like you.
oh wow, you haven't met a lot of people.
True. I haven't. But
yeah, I
no,
don't
but
know.
that's true though. I don't think I have. So a lot of times I think we're hard on ourselves because we think, yeah, but no, that's not true. You're actually pretty lovable. But yeah, what was I going to say?
What were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Nubia, you cut
I
in.
cut in.
You cut in, and then So then, what did you want to cut in to say about, like, us having too much fun? we were having too much fun. We talked about that. Are we doing too much? Okay, so I'm just going to continue.
I know, just continue. I don't remember. But it
Yeah.
is something about doing too much.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And my question was, is there such a thing as doing too much? Or is it that we've become accustomed to living such humdrum lives? You know, like people say, you're so used to living small that you don't even know what your full potential could be. So for us, it feels like we're doing a lot. And we are. You know, we can get into that. I don't know
Can we?
if this is the episode for that. We're doing a lot. But the point is, yes, that was a question that we asked ourselves this morning. We actually explored that a bit yesterday as well. What does it feel like when you're doing too much? It's kind of like when you're sliding down that, they call it the rabbit hole. When you're, basically when you're sliding down,
You're
spiraling
you're
out of control.
into the drain.
Yeah, you don't realize until you've hit rock bottom. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, this is too much. I've done too much.
Yeah.
But it's too late for you to realize that you did too much until you're there. So I'm just saying, every now and then, I think we need to do a pulse check with each other and ask, are we doing too much here? But then the question is, if you're not pushing the boundaries on, what's too much, is your mind going to naturally always want to revert back to what it's comfortable with, which is the status quo, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. So first of all, we tend to just talk, and we do have a topic. But
We do.
Let me just quickly answer that. Can you do too much? The answer is yes. If you think about the book that we love so much, The Untethered Soul, what he recommends is like the Tao Te Ching, I think is what he had called it, or whatever. In essence, it's essentially living. Do I need to speak louder? All right. So it's living in the middle way. It's like finding the exact balance, and that's what I try to tell my children, anyways. Like, life is nuance. It's like you can't never give someone, or there's very rarely, or of the things that are most important and most complex in our world, that you can't really ever give them a categorical, black and white rule. You have to always find the nuance in how you would basically find exceptions to any kind of rule. And so, and I think that's the essence of the Tao Te Ching, is basically finding what, the true balance is. Clearly there are people who party way too much. It may feel really good. And the question is, what are you trying to hide that you need to go and party this hard? And so I think that's part of what we're talking about. We're having a lot of fun.
Well, I think we probably should explain that, though, a bit, because I don't know that, we're not going anywhere, so it's not
That's
as if
true.
we're partying. To me, what feels like too much for me is, I think what should be just the basic expectation for good human living, To be honest, for the most part, I wake up when my body feels good and ready to wake up. A lot of times that's about 8:30, or so. And being quarantined and having, Zoom calls, being able to have meetings and interactions with people remotely, allows for me to live that way, because I can just roll out of bed, maybe take a quick shower, and then plop myself in front of my computer and get to work. So that probably takes about 20 minutes or so for me to prep and get started. But yeah, I start the day really feeling like I don't want to wake up to an alarm clock. I don't want to get out of bed arbitrarily at a time that doesn't necessarily make sense. So I get up when I feel good and ready. And then I have meetings, the meetings that I have, I take them. Whatever work I can do, I do. But then if I feel tired and it's the middle of the day, let's say it's noon or 2:00, and my mind feels like it needs a break, I'm allowing myself to take a break. If that means going to sit down in the living room and watching TV or listening to a podcast, whatever it is. I haven't done a lot of listening to podcasts recently, but maybe reading a book, but I allow myself the permission to do what I want. And then there are times when, obviously, if I have a speech or what have you that's coming up, I'll push myself. But what I'm realizing is that I'm not necessarily following the 8 hour work day like most people are. I mean, I think some people are working really hard. Some people are working 10 hours or what have you. So I'm kind of going, I'm allowing my soul and how it feels to dictate what I do. I mean, there have been times when I'll go 2 days without working if I don't have a lot of meetings. And then on the weekends, we actually do have fun. I mean, we'll drink, we'll do whatever. We connect with our friends, we'll do Zoom calls and what have you. And we're just really having a good time. We're having good times with the kids. So it feels highly indulgent, even though we're not going too crazy, but it does feel indulgent, kind of like you're on a vacation where you're just throwing caution to the wind and you have no real plans for your day, which I guess if you don't have any plans for your day, are you missing plans? Are you not by default not having any plans for your life? I don't know. Right. So that's where I question is what is me trying to tap into my natural rhythm. I'm trying to find that for myself. And in allowing myself to do that, am I sort of doing too much by not being more rigid with my time and, what I plan to do for the day or for the week?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we discussed this, like what we decided was that, we have to basically we have to set our intentions, which is one of the things that we have talked about. Like, one of the things that we do with the whole family is we have daily scrums. So for those of you who aren't familiar with like software development, IT world, like a scrum is a short meeting that people who are involved with software development have, and they just basically say what they're working on today or what they worked on today, what they plan on working on tomorrow, and then just so everybody's on the same page and everybody's aware what's going on. And so we do that with our family, and that's just a way of setting your intentions and then making sure you get those things accomplished. Another thing that people do who are trying to get things done, and that's part of what I do. Like, I have a list of to-dos, and it's long running. And then, I try, and I need to be more consistent. That's one of the things that we need to do, is I try to put mission critical action items. So it's like, on this day, I have to get these things done. And therefore, like, once you feel like you got these types of things done, then you could feel more comfortable having the type of fun that you want to have. And so there are times when, again, we're not consistent. And so, we don't do that. We're having a lot of fun. We're enjoying ourselves. We wake up when we want, after a night of, having some fun drinking or whatever the case may be. And, we wake up and we go out and you talk to friends and you do whatever feels good to you at that moment. But we also have big ambitions. These things do not get accomplished without doing. Doing is very important. You can't just wish them to existence. I mean, there's a big part of, when we talk about magic, there is a big part of it that is about, having the desire, but it's also works. And the Christian would say, faith without works is dead, or something like that. And so you also have to put in some work. And so our fear when we talk about, for me especially, is not necessarily that we are out here acting ridiculously foolish, but understanding where we want to be. Are we just indulging whatever it is that our desires are a little bit more than the work that is involved in where we want to be? And so that's like, just making sure that we stay consistent with those kinds of things, with our mission criticals and setting our intentions is what we decided. Like, consistency is very, very, very important for us, because we always have these bright ideas and then we fall off. So yeah.
I think that's a great point. I think it's about striking that balance between indulging yourself and what trying to figure out what your natural rhythm is for work, as well as relaxation, sleep, play, tapping into your relationships, all of those things that are important. So finding the balance between that and the work that needs to be done to continue to propel yourself forward and put you on the next level that you're looking to get to. So what I've decided before we jump into today's topic is I think it's actually less about the number of hours that you put in. It's about the big bets that you make. So I'm always trying to, I mean, we had a conversation about this even earlier today, as we're trying to launch our business on a bigger scale, you know, how are we going to maximize our time as we're having conversations with people? Is it better to have one-on-one conversations, or is it better to have one on 25, one on 100 conversations, which then, creates that 10x that you were talking about? You do something once and then you get rewarded for it multiple times. So for me, it's about finding those big bets that I can devote my time to, because I think it's the same amount of energy for the most part. It's the same amount of energy, but it's about positioning yourself in a way that that action you take will sort of create a ripple effect into other parts of your life. So you're not taking incremental steps per se. It's really leaps and bounds without feeling like you are killing yourself in the process. So it's about thinking about, what do I have to do today? And once you've thought about that, how can you 10x that effort so that the results yield something much greater than, whatever the typical result would yield. So that those are the things that I'm thinking about to allow for me to then take the breaks and the rests and the chill that I want. Because at heart, I just want to chill, to be honest.
Yeah, and we gotta think about that. Like we had a Zoom call with family, and one of our family members was just talking about how every time he thinks he is stepping up and taking big risks, he realized that the fear in him, disguised in such a clever way, was preventing him from taking as big of a leap as he needed to take. And so, I mean, that's definitely key when you take, it really depends on the type of problems you're trying to solve. So, like, go out there and, and try to solve bigger problems. And, if you fail, you fail anyways. But if you have a setback, but if you keep on coming back, you could potentially get those bigger rewards, and you don't have to work as hard. So work smart.
Yeah. So, sounds good. All right. Now that we've touched upon that, I'm doing well as well. 2 months into
I'm
this.
sorry, I'm supposed to ask you that, right? How are you doing, by the way, Bola?
I'm doing well. I had a bit of a meltdown maybe a month or 5 weeks into this. Remember, I woke up one morning and I just wanted some flowers for my house, and I completely forgot the stores were shut down. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't able to get flowers, and I basically revolted and said, I'm just going to drive around in my car, and then went to Burger King, got some fries, and stayed in my car pretty much the whole day because I just didn't want to come back to the house. But aside from that, I think I'm doing well. I'm actually really enjoying reconnecting with people on a deeper level. So that's something that we've been doing quite a bit. Our weekends have turned into marathon Zoom sessions, which has been a really good thing. So the topic for today actually came out of one of the sessions that we had with our college friends.
Yeah. Or business school, but I guess when people think college, I think they think
No, it was college friends. This was from with Mike and them, All Stars. The question of authenticity. Yeah. So let me. Well, maybe you're thinking of a different conversation, so we can talk about that. But so we have a group of friends from college that everyone has that we're on WhatsApp together, and we pretty much keep up with each other's lives. People make announcements about what's going on. And so recently, we just said, let's do a Zoom session to get caught up on everyone's lives and truly have meaningful conversations. So, but before we got started, so we set that up. And before we got started, there was a question around one of our friends, Mike, has this amazing new program that he's doing, which is having one-on-one conversations with people that he's interested in learning more about. It's called Connect in Politics. I think it's Connect in Politics. Y'all should look it up. So he did one with me, and other members of the group were saying, yeah, we should do that and really get to know each other on a much deeper level than we knew. So then Mike was saying, the thing is, you can't force people to have meaningful conversations because folks are just too comfortable playing on a much I don't want to say superficial, but maybe shallow surface level where it doesn't always get deep, and what makes for meaningful conversations a lot of time is the good, the bad, but mostly the ugly. Maybe not mostly, but that it's in the ugly, quote unquote, that I think you really get to know the essence of people. And then you as a friend can figure out how you can play in that space with them. That's what determines who your people are, when they're willing to be with you at your ugliest. But I think most people really only tap into the good part. So I'll show you the good things happening in my life. I may touch a bit on a bit of the bad, but not too bad, but definitely not the ugly, right? So that was what he was saying.
Instagram world.
The Instagram,
was I there when he said all this?
I'm just paraphrasing, but you were there. You were there. So then the conversation was what we said after that was, why are we assuming that people are intentionally keeping their lives private? Is it because they don't want to show you the ugly part, or is it because the way our society is structured, you actually just don't even have time to bring people in? And that's what we were talking about, that people's lives that you have to give people grace. You may think that they're not willing to get down and dirty with you, but they're just so busy. So people don't have time for the Zoom calls and what have you. So you'll send a text, hey, what's going on? And people respond, it's all good, right? But you don't truly, so you feel like you're in touch with them. You see their pictures, but you don't truly know what's going on in their lives. So that's really where the question of authenticity came from, at least from my understanding. But it sounds like you feel like it came from another conversation that you were having.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
which one was it?
The
Zoom
conversation
session?
that I'm talking about, it was a Zoom session with another friend of ours from business school, and pretty cool. Actually, I've been pushing to be more open and knock down those walls that I construct in my own mind. And so therefore, part of that is just being vulnerable, which, by the way, whenever it is that I hear somebody like one of our friends, should I be shouting out names?
It'll been soon.
I'm going to shout out a name. So we call her Sister Beardoo.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I had a chat with her, and she was talking to me about one of the episodes that we had where we were discussing whether or not you should want to be rich. And I was like, oh my God. Like, whenever people are freaking, like, it's one thing to just be sitting here talking to you, like I talk to you every day.
Yeah. You forget this actually goes out.
Yeah, that people are actually sitting there listening. Some people who know me. And so when she called and said, it's like, oh my God, these people are now getting into my mind. Because, I don't want to be that vulnerable. I don't want to expose myself. Like, I'm notoriously, especially with your people, quiet. Like, they don't hear, and they don't get into my mind. But anyways, I guess just kind of a aside. But anyways, we were having a discussion with the friends from business school, and it was supposed to be like a couples thing. And well, even before that, I think because we had a session with them before, and then I had mentioned how there's another freaking piece that I'm going to reveal is going to be fucking, it's going to be kind of terrible. So one of the questions that you have for me is like the first time you had the question, we've asked this damn question now so many goddamn times, but since you've asked it, and since my answer was what it was, we cannot stop with this damn question. All right, so the question that you had was, what is your persona? What is the persona that you have? What would you see yourself as? And the persona is kind of like a character that you would want to be. You know, like a character that you would want to be like. So, for example, yours was
So yeah,
Robin Givens in Boomerang.
so you're not setting this up well because it just makes it seem like I want to be Robin McGivens for no
Okay,
reason.
okay. Why don't you
So
quickly explain that so I
yeah,
can get back to the story?
Yes, and babe, we need to keep on time.
Well, we're talking about authenticity, so we're gonna
Authenticity.
get to it.
Okay.
This is part of it.
So part of the Zoom calls that we've been having, I'm first of all, I'm a nosy person, so I love meaningful conversations. So for me, I naturally want to get
Okay.
beneath
You
the
telling me I'm
surface.
taking too much time now. You're like,
My bad.
could you explain what
Okay.
Robin Givens and persona
So,
is?
so for our Zoom sessions, we typically would have questions that we ask each other, family members, friends, or whoever we happen to be on a Zoom session with, and just go around answering what I think are interesting questions just to get to know each other better. So, one of the questions was, what would your persona be if you had no inhibitions, constraints, or fear of appearing irresponsible? So if you could just be anyone, anything untethered to any judgment or limitations, either real or conceived of, what would it be? So mine was so the question is the question is, what is the persona that you feel like you are that represents you, and then what is your aspirational persona?
Well,
Right.
that was how I answered it.
That's how
not
you
the
answered it.
question was,
Okay,
and
so
that's
the
what
question
needs
is,
to be understood.
what would be your persona if you had no inhibitions, if you had no barriers? And mine was, I would be a mixture of Robin Givens from Boomerang and Halle Berry from Boomerang as well.
No, okay. So
No, I'm
you
gonna
keep on
give you the
saying this,
final.
but you
Yeah, it's
didn't.
those two.
You didn't. You said you feel like you're Halle Berry, but you did not want to be Halle Berry. But it's the two was Robin Givens and Nia Long from Love Jones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you said You said you feel like you're the
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
you're the Halle Berry character in Boomerang.
Yes, I'm the Halle Berry character in Boomerang, and the Halle Berry character, if you all, I mean, I'm sure everybody has seen Boomerang, is just
If you haven't, go see
a little more homely, a little more artsy, even though I'm not fully artsy, but I like to occupy that space. I think I'm similar to her in that way. And probably just kind of like, she dances to the beat of her own drum. She's not necessarily competing out here like Robin Givens is. So ideally, I would love to be able to be more of a, kind of just be put together, be able to compete on that level, what have you. And I said, ideally, though, it would be a mixture of the two character, which would then be the Nia Long character in Love Jones. Like, that would be my aspirational self. Because she's still a badass. She's still going out trying to get, career-wise and all of that. She looks amazing, sharply dressed, and she's into like the creative space, poetry, the arts, and all of that. So I think that would be my ideal. So yeah, why did we bring this up?
Okay, so I was just explaining how, for me, the idea of authenticity started, and so we've been
Okay.
asked this question multiple times, and every time that I, answer it, people are like, "What in the hell? What?
Yes.
This is not you at all." And so this is part of the question of authenticity, and so, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more, but like most people are multiples. There's a person that I listen to. His name is Moses Sumney. Recommend him. And he has this song called also, and, where he talks about people respecting his multiplicity. And most of us are not one archetype. Like, everybody wants to put you in a box, and most people are way more complex to be like, here's the box that I see you in. In any case, I just bring that up and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, people, I've played a specific role based on what I felt like my character should be, based on what people and myself included, like my experiences have told me that I should behave like.
Your narrative.
Yeah, my narrative. And so, most people would look at my narrative that I'm also playing a part in portraying and say, you know what, this is you? Hell no. So what I said was when they asked me that, was that I gave two answers. So the first answer was one that I felt like if I was completely uninhibited now, and I was behaving like a person who did not care what other people thought, that would be like a Chris Brown. And every time I say that, people are like, what you want to be a wife beater?
I think it's the
first thing everybody says.
I think it's because he punched Rihanna.
This is crazy. Yes, I'm not excusing it.
No.
But the first thing people say is you want to be a wife beater. Today I was told, wait a minute, you want to be a C-list R&B singer? Okay.
That's actually interesting. I would never call Chris Brown a C-list.
No! I think they need to do their Googles, okay?
Yeah.
You know who you are if you're listening to this. Do your Googles on Chris Brown. But anyways, the point is that, I talked about that, and then I talked about my aspirational one was a combination between like the swag and fashion sense of a Jay-Z, but like with the ability to spread inspiration and insight like a Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. So that's the aspirational one, not necessarily like I don't want to be, have anger management issues. Although the point that I was making was not necessarily the anger management issue of Chris Brown, but the I don't give a fuckness of Chris Brown. Like I'm not caring what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. I'm not caring that you think of me in one way or another. Because that's how I am when I'm at home. Like, most people don't know this. Bola will say this, like, when people meet me, they assume that I'm this mild-mannered reporter.
Reporter?
I just said that because that's how they describe Clark Kent. Mild-mannered. But anyways, whereas, Bola is like vibrant and whatever, and they think like, Bola's the crazy one that has to deal with Mac. But like if and see me when I'm behaving with my family. No, Bola's the crazy
one that Mac has to deal with.
Mac has to deal with. But if and you see me when I deal with my family, people be like, that's the crazy dude right there. Like, he might flip out on you at any time.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing where my inhibitions, like, quickly, put a clamp down on me and prevent me from being who I would be in my authentic self. Not necessarily who I would want to be.
Right.
Okay.
But you're just saying who you would be if I don't give a fuckness was exactly on the level it should be.
Exactly. All right. So,
no, that's great.
So I think that's, we had a Zoom call before, and that's what started the conversation because, I think, some people were like, what the hell are you doing? But then the second Zoom call that we had, we were talking about what would make you go viral. And, what?
Okay, go ahead. What would make you go viral? I
shouldn't be bringing this up. We didn't bring any names up, okay?
Go ahead.
What would make you go viral? And Bola has the nerve to be like, probably, what would make, so we're having like a couples, do like the newlywed, your partner type of thing. And so Bola had to answer what might make, what I would do that would probably make me go viral on like some, on the interwebs, and she goes and says to this group, probably him getting into a fight or something. Listen, I'm 40 years old. I do not get into fights.
Hold up. Hold up.
Okay, what up? What
first of all, I was shocked that you were shocked by my answer. I was like, are we being honest or no? Because I feel like even your kids understand that anybody can get it. Like, we've been to Six Flags and you were picking fights.
Most people don't know that everybody could get it. And those people were just now meeting me.
No, but my
and you are just now, that's like me coming in trying to get a date from a girl and be like, listen, yo, I'm really sappy. I will cry at movies. Like, I don't jump in telling everybody my secrets.
Okay, so no, because okay, so you were shocked that I was willing to be honest, even at the point where you felt like it could be disparaging, even though I didn't think
listen.
it would be. No, but I was
wasn't.
shocked by your response. You were like, what? I'm not getting into a fight. I'm like, oh, okay, my bad.
You were.
I was shocked.
I was shocked. I wasn't necessarily angry, but I was like,
no, not angry, but you.
But honestly speaking, let's be clear. If you don't know me, and that's what you're hearing, like he probably would just go viral from going
from getting into a fight.
Getting into a fight. You don't know me, you might automatically be like, oh, this guy. If I take him out, he might be fighting everybody.
But no, so the way I see it, and this is going to lead us directly into the authenticity topic.
Right.
I just don't know, and maybe people do. I personally feel like every part of you is real, but what you're seeing or what I'm showing you today is just one part of many.
That's what we came to conclude.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So if you hear that someone could possibly go viral for getting into a fight, I would not think that was the totality of who they were. You know, I may start to, piece together like a rough sketch, but I don't think I would run and take it to the market. I wouldn't, because they're seeing your demeanor. So part of the additional data that they're getting, in addition to you could possibly get it type of persona, is you were well-mannered, you spoke, you're respectful and all this other stuff. So all of that is taken into consideration when people start to sketch out who they think you are, you know what I mean? And even if it's still limited, even if their understanding is still limited, I don't think from meeting you and hearing you speak your experiences, you've been with your wife all this time and all this stuff, I don't think the only thing they're going to take away from that conversation is you liable to, anyone can get it.
Who is seeing all these things? The new person that was how would she hear all of that?
No, because y'all were having interactions.
Okay, whatever. It's beside the point. Okay,
the point is, okay, so then that then led us to the topic of authenticity.
Well, that led us to the next day, because I was actually...
The next day.
Because...
You were still...
Because one of the guys that was there, homeboy is cool, we're cool, like that's my good friend. You know what I'm saying? And so it has nothing to do with what was there. And I think also it was meant as kind of a joke too, which is another thing that, I personally, who is very sensitive, has, is coming to, terms with, whatever the case may be. But not to say that but it kind of like was looping in my head. So that's why.
What was looping?
The response to it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, immediately, like you said, I was shocked by it, and I was kind of feeling embarrassed.
That was my response. Yes.
Yeah, embarrassed by that crowd. Like, depending on the crowd that I was in, this would not be embarrassed, and I actually even said that. I was embarrassed by it. And, but anyways, like, this was something that was, like, looping in my head, so I had to come to terms with it, which is what caused me to have that reaction. But this person... who is a
good friend of yours,
good friend of mine, but also very fit. Mm-hmm. And by fit, like I'm talking about like a
pulled together.
No, I'm talking about like how they use it in well, not necessarily how they use it in England, but
it's not pulled together. Fit.
Well, okay, kind of, but like a big
Proper.
dude, like he muscles people around.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And so like his whole thing was like,
is that how they use fit?
No, I said not really.
Oh, okay.
But
because I thought fit from the shows, from the BBC shows I've been watching.
You're right. I probably shouldn't be using that.
No.
That term for
a dude.
Unless I'm,
I don't think attracted. So. I feel like you have a misunderstanding of how the word is used. I don't even think it's in the sense of attractiveness or not. I think it's just like, that's cool. Fit to me is like a euphemism for, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, you cool. You real fit, man. You fit.
I don't know. I'm not.
I don't know.
I don't care.
Well, this is the point where we ask our English listeners.
We have English listeners?
No, we don't.
Okay. Who knows though? Maybe we do.
Aspirational. This is where y'all go ahead and chime in at the bottom and let us know how fit is used. But go ahead.
All right, so where was I? All right, so yeah, I mean, and I admit, like, you know, big dude. Like when we play basketball together, I've seen some big guys, and this guy muscles everybody. You know what I'm saying? So, and he was just like, "What? You getting into a fight? What the hell is that?" You know, I haven't. And then they asked him did you get into a fight?
No, I wanted you to finish the story. What, like, he was just saying, because there was more to him. His response was, not only are you getting into a fight, but the concept of you being in college as a black man.
I was going to get there.
Okay, go ahead.
But the concept of you getting into a fight for him was like, come on, man, bro, you an educated dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to always look at these guys at my school, and it's like, dude, you're paying tuition. Like, why the hell are you acting like you're a gangster or whatever the case may be, you know, that kind of thing. And the truth is, part of the reason why it hit me is because I kind of felt the same kind of shit about some of these people that I'd seen in college. Like, come on, bro.
Corporate thugs.
Exactly. Like, come on, bro. Like, you know, come on, seriously. And, you know, so I was kind of like, damn, I don't know how to respond to that. Like,
because you felt like your cards were being pulled.
Yeah, and like, you know, why the hell? Like, I got a law degree and a business degree. Why, you know, and you're a smart ass freaking dude. You know what I'm saying? Not to blow my horn, but
baby, you is smart.
I ill smart.
You is smart. So yes, you don't need to blow your own horn, especially when I'm here. I'm here for that.
Here we go. But so, you know, I was like, wow, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, I can't really argue against that. Like, I don't promote, you know, fists over discussions or whatever the case may be. And so
I'm sure there's a better way to say that. Fists over
words.
Yeah.
Fists over words.
Okay. Fists over logic. Reason.
Sure. Fists over reason. And so I was kind of like, damn. But the thing is, you know, so
we talked about it.
We talked about it. We woke up the next day, you know, discussing that, and that's, to me,
where this topic came from.
That because it's from the revelation from the discussion of that.
Okay. So yeah. So maybe the universe has been leading us to this topic, you know, and it's a meaningful one to talk about. So the topic for today, now that we're 45 minutes into this conversation, we've got to do better. We're 45 minutes into this. Today's topic is...
Really? I thought we introduced authenticity a long time ago. What do you mean today's topic?
Oh, yeah.
We already introduced it. We're talking about it.
We're
finishing.
Yeah, you're right. But yes, so the topic is...
So we're actually doing good if we were just to come in and be like, here's what was revealed to us. 45 minutes in, we're doing really well. We got 15 whole minutes.
Can I frame the topic for our audience?
Okay, go ahead.
Because they have listened to a bunch of banter back and forth. So the topic and why I think it's important is, you know, on this show, we promote living your best life, right? Living your best life means living Mackin's best life, whatever version of that looks like, Bola's best life. And you cannot live your best life if you're inauthentic, if you are not authentic to who you are. I think the first step to even understanding what your best life could be like is you understanding who you are and manifesting that on a day-to-day basis in real time. So then that's the question. The question is, what does authenticity mean? And how do you consistently tap into that space, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels weak at times, even when it feels corny, whatever it is, right? Even when it goes against your own narrative of how you want to present, you know, like you want to be cool, calm, and collected like Jay-Z, but there's a Chris Brown inside of you that's dying to come out, you know? So how do you honor that? How do you give breath to that? How do you manifest that in ways that is authentic, even if you're on a journey to be Jay-Z. And even when you do get to being Jay-Z, hopefully you wouldn't completely suppress your Chris Brown. Maybe there's a way for you to fold all of it into your new version, whatever that is. So that's the topic. The topic is, first, the importance authenticity plays in living one's best life. So how about we take that first before we then talk
authenticity plays
the importance of authenticity. Do you think it's important for you to be authentic? Whatever that, okay, you know what? Why don't we just define authenticity? You think that's a given?
I mean, I can try, but am I the person to?
What does authenticity mean? I have no
idea what it means
to you.
Okay,
what does it mean to you?
Okay, I think, yes, that's a much better way to put it, because I have no idea. Like, I can give you the definition in the dictionary, and who knows what else people would say it is. But to me, authenticity means being your true self. I don't know how else to say it. Like, being who you are when you're most comfortable. When you are all, like, whether it is at your best or at your worst, it's being who you are, your true self.
Your genuine self.
Your genuine self. And there are times when you are not at your best. Like, when I am with you, Bola, and my family, the people that I'm comfortable with, sometimes I'm not at my best, but it is also part of my authentic self. And sometimes I am at my best, and that's also part of my authentic self. And so it's like being what I am at that moment. And even if I strive to be better at that moment, even if I have to apologize and say, you know what, I'm going to do better, I'm not necessarily doing something because I'm looking towards what other people think I should do, but towards what I think I should do.
Right.
Like, what do I want to be? And that, to me, is your true and your authentic self.
Okay. So I just looked up on Google, and this is this definition is on Medium, and it went away. Oh, let me do it again. Nubia's gonna cut this out.
She gonna cut that part out?
I know, right? So I just looked up authenticity, and it's on Medium. It says authenticity is about presence, living in the moment with conviction and confidence, and staying true to yourself. Conviction, confidence. I think the two go together. Conviction and confidence, and staying true to yourself. That's actually a really good, being in the moment, meaning you're not overthinking shit. You're not putting together a narrative for who you want to be. How do I want to present? You're in the moment. Something happens to you. You're not thinking about what's the best reaction to this, right? Like, you're just going with it. And then you're convicted in terms of who you are, and you have confidence about yourself. So it's not as if you're sort of shrinking or even placing any sort of judgment or value on who you are. You're really just expressing yourself. It's not good or bad, but you're convicted and you're confident about it. I think that's a good definition. So that's great. I'm glad we covered that, and I would agree with that. Do you think it's important? Authenticity is important in living one's best life.
I think Bishop T.D. Jakes said this the best when and I'm paraphrasing, so he said, it's too freaking exhausting trying to be somebody else. Like, I swear in my life, like, if you're sitting here trying to be somebody else, and you're like twisting, contorting to try to be it, like, it's just, you can't be happy. So yeah, no, I think it's important for you to just be yourself. Like, you're happy when you're comfortable. So if you can manage to be comfortable anywhere that you are, then, I mean, what else is there? You're born and you die. If you should try to be happy.
Yeah, I actually think, yes, I agree with that. It's definitely exhausting to be someone else, and whatever it is that you're trying to mimic, because you're trying to mimic it, you're always going to fall short of that. And I think people can see it. People know, I mean, we're energy beings. We can connect to each other's energies. And, we know when someone is feeling uncomfortable, experiencing some discomfort and what have you. Someone is putting on, for the most part. And people are judging you based on that. People are thinking, oh, wow, you seem to be a little uncomfortable, or maybe even if they don't label it as discomfort, they may just walk away saying, I don't know if I like that person, because it seems contrived, So now the question of trust starts to come in, the question of, I don't really know that person. They're so vague, because when it's not you and you're trying to play character, it's going to come across as vague because you don't have all the pieces together. So ultimately, I think you show depth. You allow for yourself to connect much easier with other people when you're authentic. And then more than anything, you don't have to walk around trying to remember who you presented yourself to be the last time you met someone. You know what I mean? You could just say, here I am. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Take me for who I am. So I agree. And I think all of that energy can then go into something more productive, right? Like, I'm not trying to contrive this life, this person that I am. This is who I am. Now, all the energy that you would have used to, play this game and create all this person, the creative energy can then go into something more meaningful. So I do think it's critical to be authentic when you're looking to live your best life. So with that as a premise for Some Days Today, living your best life, I think can we agree that a lot of people struggle with authenticity?
Not only can I agree, and when I thought about us having this conversation, I was thinking to myself, and this is actually a question I asked one of our guests, Jordan T. Because we talked about authenticity in that episode, and I was like, you know what, we talk about being authentic, but it's not an easy thing. It's hard to be authentic because you are in your head. Like, as much we are acclimated, we are acculturated. We are not even as acculturated, but like as a human being, having to live in a world where you have to have rules in order to make sure that you're either productive or you just don't die. As a baby, when you're just born, I have to tell you no, so you don't go and burn yourself or whatever the case may be. You're being given limitations and restrictions that are just part of your upbringing as a human being. And so from that, you automatically have to be creating mental limitations for yourself and not necessarily completely being yourself. And so as much as we tell people just be yourself, that shit is hard. You can't just, it's hard to just be yourself when like you've been trained by life to automatically put barriers in your way. And so
you've been housebroken.
Yeah, it's definitely
to fall in line.
It's tough.
Yeah, no, it is. But I also I think it's tougher in certain societies, and we talk about this as well. I think especially in America, given how much emphasis and focus we place on success versus not having success, the different personas or characteristics that the different races have. And then, there are also other lenses that we live through in the society that I think, just makes the boxes that we're living in smaller and smaller. So by the time you come out as an educated Black woman in corporate America who is trying to signal success, there's a very specific, set of attributes that person needs to be checking off or playing to. If not, then you are assumed to be other, to not fully be fitting that archetype. So I think that's what makes it difficult for people. So that's why a lot of people get up, they go to work, and they're just exhausted. They've given their best performance, and then they come home and they're just exhausted and have nothing else to give. And I remember feeling this way myself. And I don't even know if you don't even realize that the minute you get into your car and you start to drive to work and you walk into the building, you're on. You don't even realize how much energy, and you're on for a good 8-10 hours, in the words that you choose to use, your speech pattern, how up you are, your energy. I mean, all of it is just like it's a performance. And then you come home and you try to get back into yourself and you're just too exhausted to do it. So you can't be living your best life when you're giving so much of yourself, trying to, keep up an image, right? So yeah, so I agree. I think depending on the society that you're in, it could be even more exhausting and limiting when you're looking for authenticity. So now that we're on the same page with that, then the question is, how can we, for those who are interested in being more authentic, how can you start to get on that journey? And what are some of the either setbacks or hurdles that you'll have to confront on this journey?
Setbacks or hurdles that you have to
Hurdles. So yeah, so if I wake up today and I decide, you know what, I want to live my authentic, my I want to be as authentic as possible. What we explored, so I'm just going to give you, so what does that look like? And the question you asked is, of Latanya as well as me, is how do you even know who your authentic self is? I think it's the first thing.
Okay,
Is
so
on
the
this,
thing is, so I think what you're saying with respect to hurdles, like I'm reading differently than what are. How do you
how do you
actually
get on
be
this?
authentic?
Yeah, how do
Okay,
you get on this path? Yeah.
so I'm gonna try to answer in both ways. So in largely, like you said, it's a question that I asked you, and so like when I was struggling with this, and we talk about these all the time, I reached out, not reached out, but because you're right next to me all the time, but I talked to you and I asked you, because I think of you as a person who is authentic, like, and not only.
I tried to be as much as possible,
Yeah,
but
like you try to be as well. Yeah, I know there's areas where you don't feel comfortable in there,
yeah.
and as a result, you're not as comfortable as you want to be. But like I see you in different places, and I like the authenticity that you bring. Like, and one of the things that I struggle with, like I said, is thinking about, like, because I am a sensitive, but also a person who like loops and things in my head of what people say, and so like I've watched you handle certain things that I might take offensively, and you've handled it in such a way that it was like your response was just like, wow. And because for me, thankfully, I think, with respect to the situation that we talked about with our friends that talked about what you fought, like I think it was handled well, but I could see myself being finding that thought, starting to loop on it, and that making me spiral down to a place where I'm like upset, and like the conversation and the flow of the conversation change. And so like I've seen you do it so much better, so I was like one of the things that I was thinking about as I am on this journey to better myself is like, all right, let me go and ask Bola, who seems to do this well, how she does that. What does she do to overcome that sort of feeling when it's happening. And so I would say that part of what I think is going to be your hurdle is consistently pushing, as with all of these things, consistently pushing to be your authentic self, because it is a habit that you do not currently have, and consistently questioning yourself and consistently pushing to get to that level. It is not going to be a thing, and I think this is clear of everything that we talk about. It's not going to be a thing where you just say, I'm going to do it and it's going to happen. You have got to do the work. You have got to constantly question yourself and constantly try to knock down walls and all that stuff. So that, to me, is the biggest hurdle, is, not giving up if you haven't succeeded, or if you've stumbled at any given point. Wake up the next day and try it again.
So can I just quickly
Go ahead.
answer that? So for me, I think that's great. I think that makes sense. I actually would take it maybe a step back before you even get on that journey, by understanding who your authentic self is.
Well, I think that's the point that I was going. So that's not a hurdle.
Okay.
To me, understanding who you. Well, I guess you can call it a hurdle.
Yeah, no, that's a process.
If you don't know who yourself
Yes.
is, that's a hurdle. Okay, I suppose.
And
Okay.
the reason why I said that is because that was also part of the conversation we had.
Yes.
Because a lot of people will say, a lot of people don't even realize that they
okay.
are
I see the point you're going at.
inauthentic. Do you know what I mean? Because they're so comfortable with their work persona and their house persona. It's kind of like black people talking about, what's that? You know, we wear double code switching.
Yeah.
Code switching. You know, black people will go to work and be like, you
I
know.
mean, in essence, that's what was going on. Is
Right.
I wasn't necessarily speaking in any different way, but it was kind of code switching. Like if I was in a different, talking to a different group, I would not care so much.
It would be
if you said that.
acceptable for
Yeah,
you
exactly.
to get into a fight, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is because both of those personas, and for some people it's even multiple. You know, you have a personality for your children, personality for work, personality for your parents. I mean, whatever it is, right? And then it becomes difficult when you're having a party and everybody shows up. Which personality is going to win out here? You know, but your point was that both of those personas are real to you. Like they're both who you are. You know, with your more sort of I don't know how to put it.
Intelligent.
Yeah, with your more refined friends. And I don't even want to use that word because it's loaded, but
Yes.
whatever. We just gonna go with it. With your more whatever friends, there's a certain way you want to come across, and then with your more homeboys or whatever, there's a certain way you want to come across, and both to you are very much who you are. They're very real to you. I don't know that I don't think I have a homeboy versus intelligent, not versus refined persona. I try not to.
Okay, but
But
here's
I
the thing.
think-
I want to speak to that, and I know you want to finish, but I think everybody has their own version of this,
Yes.
right? So, like, with respect to you as a Nigerian
Yeah.
who is, because I know
American,
that's
yeah.
something that I feel like I have completely erased from myself, like this dichotomy of an immigrant,
Yeah.
who's also here living in America. Like I've erased that largely because, I've just completely identified with the African American culture. Like and unfortunately, I've kind of, effaced
Traded.
the whole Haitian part of it, and so I don't necessarily deal with it as much as you do, but it's the same kind of thing, like that you're dealing with your Nigerian side and then your American side and feeling stuck in between, but it's it's the same kind of thing with me. Like I'm when I was growing up, there was a way that I was behaving with the men the boys that I was around, and but I also had parents who were like, "You're gonna go to school," you know what I'm saying? And so I also knew I had to do my own thing with respect to school, and I always had the aspiration. So like now it's like the in between of that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yes. Great point. So we all have it
yeah.
in various ways. So, but the question is, if you're trying to bring those two or however many personas closer together, how do you, so that it's more consistent as best as possible, how do you do that? And I was saying, I think the first thing is you've got to understand who your authentic self is. And that's a process, that's a journey. And the journey of understanding your authentic self requires that you're constantly asking yourself why you're making the decisions that you're making, like the options. And obviously, if you've been doing it for a long time, it almost becomes automatic. And at some point, you start to slot into decisions even before you're intellectually aware of it, of the decision that you're making. But in the beginning, and for me, I would say the questioning started when I was much younger, when I was in elementary school, because I came from Nigeria, like you said, completely different culture. And I came from a culture where I was very comfortable being myself. I didn't really question myself. I don't think there was a reason for me to code switch. It was just, I was my authentic self as best as possible. And I came to America where my whole world turned upside down. What I knew to be cool, funny, interesting, whatever, what was working for me was definitely not working, back in Nigeria was not going to work here. It just wasn't. And I think I spent a pretty difficult 2 or 3 years in middle school from 6th to 8th grade, sort of just trying to figure it out. The first year I knew this is a mess. I just was not my authentic self. I was constantly uncomfortable in my skin, and I kind of went into my shell. And I knew, coming back into 7th grade, 8th grade, I had to get to better know myself, and what I quickly realized, and I think coming to America at that age also coincided with a period of time where girls in general questioning, they want to be independent. They're trying to be cool. They're trying to step into themselves, but then they're having to negotiate fighting for what they want versus going with the flow, being part of the in crowd versus, at whatever cost versus staying authentic to yourself and maybe not being part of the in crowd as much as possible. So it's a constant struggle. So for me, it started very early, and it's sort of kept with me because I realized that I wasn't enjoying being it wore me out. I knew that for a fact, and I did not want to repeat it. So going into high school, I was actually deliberate about trying to figure out, what was going to take the least amount of energy out of me. So I started sort of just questioning myself, when I made this, if somebody says, here's what we're going to do for a class project, a good question would be, do I want to play a lead on this project, or do I not care? And if I'm letting somebody else play a lead, is it because I'm scared to take on the responsibilities, or is it because I really just don't care? So I think you're constantly having to ask yourself questions to really allow you to get to know yourself, so that truly what you're going to go to bat for, what you care about, what you don't, and how you're going to present yourself. So it's a lot of questions to be asking, but I think ultimately you have to undertake that process so that you actually know who you are at your most authentic.
Agreed. And to add to what you're saying, because I think we need to crystallize and clarify what we're saying here. Understanding your true self, I think, starts with knowing when you are comfortable.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's when you're at home with your loved ones, and you are at your I am so comfortable right now, this is how I behave, and then gauging that, and then asking yourself, because there is so many factors that in different people that you can run into, and nuances in the ways that you run into it, that every time that you meet one person or a new situation, you're going to have to question, okay, is this truly me? Is this how I'm feeling good? Is this how it would be if I didn't shrink or try to puff up, Brene Brown says? Am I shrinking or am I puffing up? Truly, truly, truly who I am, and then assessing that at every point. And, your point is, a lot of times people don't know that, and it very much takes for you to assess that and to understand that, and before you can say, okay, now I feel like I'm being my authentic self, and then gauge it against every time that you're behaving with somebody else and a new situation occurs.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So yeah, it's undertaking that process of getting to know yourself. So I think once you know your authentic self, then the next step is, how can you then give yourself the permission to insist on that, even when you risk potential side eyes from people, potential ridicule, if that's what it is, or falling from grace from people who would otherwise consider you more successful than you're portraying yourself to be. There are various trade-offs that you now have to be willing to activate or buy into when you insist on being your authentic self. So how do you address that? And I know we talked about this as well. I have a perspective on that, but because you're going to face that.
I mean,
how do you move forward in the face of a real threat or impact to your narrative or your persona?
Okay. I didn't think we were gonna jump there because I thought we were gonna go to number two.
Okay, what's number two for you? Because I thought we
Um,
were, but go ahead.
okay, so because I don't know if I want to not answer that question or if I want to go to number two because I feel
Do
like
you be your authentic self?
oh well, okay, so let's go to number two because I'm going to also talk about what that means with respect to whether or not I should just do me and be my authentic self. So number two, what we discussed was it's part of what I just said, not shrinking. The idea of feeling embarrassed about who you are or is or not truthfully living because somebody else has said this is how they think you should do is like putting somebody else's opinion and narrative and agenda ahead of yours and why
Their perspective of the world.
their perspective of the world ahead of yours and why should it be, you know what I'm saying?
We're
Like
all human beings.
we're all human beings, you know what I'm saying? And so the point is that whenever you say I'm going to shrink, that's precisely what it is. And a lot of times when you're puffing, it's the same thing, right? When you puff and be like, I'm going to be bigger because I want to pretend to be this thing, you're in essence really doing the same thing because you've given more importance to this person and now you've got to pretend you're bigger or whatever the case may be because you want to live up to whatever it is in their minds you should be. And, in essence, you're just giving somebody, like, you just basically lowered yourself. You just said, I'm not as important. And so, like, whenever it is that you do that, that's just how you're not going to be your most authentic self. Like, you got to first now say to yourself, why is this person worthy of being above
Catered
me?
to.
Why am I subjugating or my own thoughts and opinions, perspectives to somebody else? And so I remember when we talked about this again. There's always got to be a balance in what I said was, I mean, you're being social beings. You can't always be like, I don't give a fuck about what the hell other people are thinking. And we talked about what happens if you are truly an asshole or whatever the case may be, and now nobody wants to talk to you. And I think there's a difference, and this is what we decided. There's a difference between when you are being a sociable person, a person who is accommodating to friends and people because you want to just basically have the golden rule, be treated as you would want to be treated, give everybody their own turn and chances, and be like, all right, well, I'm not always going to get what I want, so I'm going to allow you to get what you want. For that purpose is the reason why you would be like, all right, I'm going to give. Is a difference between that and saying to yourself, shit, I'm going to cower because I don't know if my opinion matters or if my opinion is as important, or I'm not going to push because this person is better or whatever the case may be. And if you're making the decision, you have to ask yourself that. If I'm making that decision because I feel less than, then you need to push back. If you're making the decision because you're like, you know what, I could push back, but you know what, I'm going to give you this one because we're boys, we're cool, whatever. That is good enough to do, but don't ever put somebody else and their perspective and opinions above your own.
Right.
They both can live, but don't shrink.
Right. And I think as we get older, especially if you're in the professional world, whatever that is, a lot of people cower in the face of someone who has all the facts or the knowledge, and because they're so passionate about what they know or what they feel comfortable with, you then start to question your opinions, your perspective, right? When, first of all, ain't nobody Google or the whole of Wikipedia. Most people, what they represent as facts, for the most part, are actually their opinions or some bullshit that they've made up along the way.
Right.
It's just a matter of how confident they're willing to come across based on the puffery or whatever it is that they're trying to do. And a lot of times, the purpose is to oppress you in one form or the other. I need to appear to be the one who knows the most and all of that. And and I think that's a difficult space for people to navigate, because I was, even when I felt like I knew who my authentic self was, I think one of the last sort of space that I had to really tackle was, being able to allow my perspective and opinion to stand in the face of a white man's opinion who seems to have a lot of facts. I experienced a lot of that in business school and also in the corporate world. Like, you have a perspective which seems to be rational. I've thought about this based on the same set of information we got. And I'm coming to a certain perspective, but someone comes out with much more colorful language. They've structured it in a way that they felt made sense. And based off of just the sheer confidence that they had in theirs, it would shake my confidence in my perspective. And there were times when I would raise my hand and say something, and I would shrink even in saying and delivering it, because I just felt like, number one, this is not even popular opinion, so I'm definitely wrong, you know. And number two, how I'm presenting it it's not as filled with passion or conviction as somebody else has. And on a number of occasions, you know, especially when it's a case, there's no real answer. On a number of occasions, I would actually be closer to the answer than someone else. So the point is, people are going to come across with all sorts of shenanigans. You have to, I mean, now what I walked away thinking is, if I thought it, I'm okay with it. I'm not stupid. I'm a reasonable person. It may not be the whole truth, the complete truth, and nothing but the truth. But if I thought it, that's enough for me to feel confident saying it. Because my computing power, my brain is not so illogical that it would lead me down a path. Because I haven't been led astray so far. I mean, there were times when, yeah, you could have made better decisions. But the point is, your ability to reason does not, like, we don't need to constantly be questioning it. Just because you've come to a different conclusion from someone else does not mean that your ability to compute and analyze is what's flawed. It just means you have a whole different set of inputs from your upbringing, your perspective, your risk tolerance, all of that. And that's okay. You know, you actually offering an alternative perspective is a gift. You know, because it allows for that conversation to be much more dynamic and interesting. So that's, because I think that is also what a lot of people struggle with is, you seem to really know what's going on here. I'm just going to go with that, you know, when that's a very dangerous thing.
So let me then ask you, and let's flip roles real quickly, in that I'm going to ask you the question. So how do you, especially as a person who is considered argumentative, and, you know, also trying to avoid, you know, seeming defensive, how do you avoid, and this is also, I think, going to play to the third piece of it, how do you avoid seeming defensive? How do you avoid just being argumentative with somebody who has a different opinion? So like you talked about, and I could really feel the point, you know, this, you know, white man, you know, is out here, you know, articulating something, and, you know, everybody, and it makes you question your own, you know, perspective. And, you know, and you're precisely right. A lot of times these people are stating things as facts, and when you actually go down to Google, it's not actually what it is. But how do you prevent yourself from actually engaging in this back and forth debate and feel like you come across not having coward, but also not having, you know, I guess lowered your integrity in any way?
I think that probably comes over time with knowing yourself, you know, which is why that's a critical piece of it. There are some things that you engage in just for the fun of it. I actually don't mind a good with debate. I don't mind it. Especially if I feel like it can stay in the respectful realm, you know, like we can respect each other's perspectives or what have you. I don't like to feel like I'm trying to convince someone or make it seem as if someone is trying to convince me, even though I know you and I engage in debates all the time and we're literally trying to convince each other. But to be honest, I don't find that to be, I think that's a waste of time, to be honest. Most people are pretty set in their ways, in their thinking, in their perspectives, you know. So as much conviction as you have about your perspective, you know, the person that you're speaking with is just as convicted, you know. So I think for me, what I always have to sort of weigh and balance is, I engaging in this debate because it's interesting? Could I learn something? Could it offer a different perspective? Could I offer a different perspective? And ultimately, is this an opportunity for us to get to better know each other? Because sometimes as well, through exploring each other's perspective, you get to get a better, deeper understanding of people. And because I enjoy people and want to get to know them in that way, I could.
Do you enjoy people?
Well, that's a stretch. I could be open to engaging in that. But I agree with you. I think there's a balance that you have to strike for yourself, and it's multi-pronged, Am I pushing my perspective because I am now performing for others who are who are watching? Because I've found myself doing that. It's like, well, this is my opportunity to show how smart I am on this topic, which is a trap, because when that is the sole purpose of that, then you're actually, and if you are doing that and hurting someone's feelings or whatever it is, it's just not, you don't want to make people feel bad. You know what I mean? And especially because most things that you are willing to die on are just opinions. They're your opinions, or they are facts to you based on your life's experiences and your preferences and your convictions, your values, your religious backgrounds. All of those things have come to shape your particular perspective that you're now representing to other people as facts. So I just think, I think for me, I don't mind a good debate, but I try to be cautious about why I'm engaging in it and when is it time to pull back. And I also try to be intentional about the words that I use, so if I'm arguing with someone, I wouldn't say, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's very disrespectful, and it also comes across as if you know better. Or, like some people will take the demeanor, let me go ahead and school you on this topic, So even if you feel like you're an authority for whatever reason, I just think there are ways.
I forget exactly what the phrase was.
I don't know.
Let me teach you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and take this one. Let me take this burden for you. Let me go ahead and carry this one for you. I mean, it's condescending. I mean, there's just so much.
It's okay. You're a little confused. Let me
you're
let
a
you know.
little confused.
Okay.
So yeah, the point is you can engage and still be respectful and not feel like you're cowering and not feel like you are, severing relationship ties that you've worked hard to build. I mean, it's a lot, but you have to engage in that sort of dance with yourself, But I think at the end of the day, you constantly have to be asking yourself, why am I doing this? And when is it time to pull back? And how can and why am I pulling back? Is it because I'm cowering? Here's the thing. The best way for me to present my perspective is to say, here's what I think. And I can say it with conviction. This is what I know that is true for me. That's it. Now you can have a different perspective all you want. You know what I mean? And then we can entertain that. And I would even be willing to say, wow, that's how you think about it. That's interesting. But it's not going to shake what I know and what I'm comfortable with unless you've presented something that's compelling enough for me to now move my opinion, And when that happens, I don't see it as a loss for myself. It's just, now I've learned something new. And that's now further it's further refined my opinion or perspective on that topic.
Right.
I think so. Yes, very good pieces, and I'm glad that you talked about it. As you were speaking, I was always thinking. I mean, a couple of things. Well, at least definitely one thing that I want to reiterate, because you said that, and I thought, wow, that's definitely true. Like a lot of times there is the performative piece, like you are here, and a lot of people are sitting there listening. A lot of times it's an ego piece too. Where you said something and then you identify so closely with this freaking thought is really what it is. It's a freaking thought. You identify so closely with it that you're willing to like go to bat and die for this thing and go into arguments with somebody when it's just a freaking thought. And it's very difficult to find yourself not doing that. Like one of the things that I have to remind myself, and this is why it's important that you get back on the horse if you fall off. But I have to remind myself that one of the best things to do is, approach the situation or the argument just exactly like you said, which is to not have a definitive opinion. This is my opinion. This is what it is. And like, yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable. Like I could see exactly that point. Like understanding that there is multiple sides. Like whenever it is that, I think that I am, whenever I start off and I can, not slip into the idea of identifying so closely with my idea, that works better because you can both, allow for the person to have their opinions, but also articulate your own in such a way that, it doesn't take away from you, but it also adds to you. I think what is dangerous because it slips in there, it just comes in without you necessarily knowing, is when somebody, when you've stated the opinion first or something like that, and then somebody comes in and pushes against it, like just like, I don't think that's what it is. And then immediately like you go into defense mode and you don't really, because of the way that they stated it, a lot of times, like if they were to say, I see your point. I guess I understand that, and and they just give you your own and say, but have you thought about it this way? Like you'd probably be way more open to understanding that it's a perspective. But sometimes it's because of the way that people their approach, yeah. And you gotta watch for that because they can immediately throw you into that space when. And ultimately, basically, what it is that they're saying is no different than somebody who did the approach in a more conciliatory or more diplomatic way. So you just gotta pretend, or you gotta make yourself get back to the idea. Okay, well, let's think about it as if it was diplomatic and say, oh yeah, there are different opinions. All right, so I could see your point and whatever the case is, but that is a difficult thing.
Yeah, it is, because your ego is always quick to want to. You said puff up to protect you,
right?
And keep it sort of feeling, what's the word? Tethered, to something. Otherwise, you're just free floating out there, and you don't have a true sense. So yeah, your ego is there to want to hunker down and protect you. So you go into that, puffing state, or cower, right? Because now all eyes are on you. And now you got to defend yourself. You're being challenged in public. So now you got to figure out a way to, keep whatever dignity is left of you. So you cower. Yeah, it's difficult. But I think you may need to put in place some scripts ahead of time. Like you may need to play out different scenarios. If you notice that there's certain scenarios that throw you all the time, you may need to work it through so that you have a go-to response that make it easy for you to still remain your authentic self, but not be flustered, But yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because people are assholes. What you gonna do? Some people are. Some people just choose. And if you're not fully grounded in yourself, you're constantly going to be getting pushed around and bobbed around, and you're constantly trying to protect your ego when really it should be about you tapping into your essence, so you get lost in that process. But
so
yeah.
What did we say was the third one? Do you want to handle the third one?
So I think I don't remember the third one. So the first is you have to question yourself and understand who your authentic self is. Oh yeah, I know. Remember the third one. The second is and I think how we put it is, on a one-on-one basis, you're a human being, I'm a human being. I have my perspective, you have your perspective. Your perspective is just as valid as mine. But the key thing to remember is I have a valid perspective too. So if I'm going to be looking out for someone's perspective, it's going to be mine, right? So when I state myself, when I present myself, I'm going to try my best to present my authentic self. I should not be worried about, well, what's Matt going to think about how my authentic self is. Let Mac worry about his own issues, so lean in with understanding that you're both human beings. Like the person you're interacting with that you now feel the need to perform for or debase yourself for, they're not gods. They're just regular people trying to figure it out. If that's the case, you might as well just go with yourself. That's it. So that's the second. And I think the third is the question, which was, if you do present yourself in this way and it's not palatable for people, what then happens when they say, so let's say you get upset, there's an argument, you get upset and you got loud, fuck this shit, whatever, this is stupid, and people are looking at you, but you are your authentic self, and people are like, wow, Mac is angry. I don't know if I want to be friends with him. Or if you present, if everybody else likes vodka and you're like, I actually kind of like gin. And people are like, well, gin is whack. You know what I mean? The point is, what if your authentic self, sort of presents you in a way that you feel is not always flattering? What should you do? So our response, and I know you're struggling to remember how.
I was thinking a different one, but I know that we
the response is what I was saying is, most people have a perspective that most people have analyzed you in a way.
See, I think
that is not.
I hear where you're going. So I feel like this is part of number 2, though.
No, but go ahead. No, I think this is different because once you've decided, I'm going to go with my perspective. The third thing is, well, if I'm going to always choose me, then are there going to be cases when people misjudge me? People don't like me. I miss out on opportunities. What have you?
So then, what's
the solution? What I said is, at the end of the day, human beings are able to give grace to other human beings.
Yes. Okay. So
I can see you. Maybe I went out with you. We on a Thursday night. You got drunk, and I may be going and say, wow, Mac likes his drinks. But if I see you the next day, you're on the basketball court, I'm going to be like, wow, Mac likes his drinks and he likes to play basketball. And then I see you with your children. You know what I mean? Like I start to get more and more ideas of who you are. But ultimately, you may want to only present yourself as a doting father who plays great basketball. But I may look at you as, he's an okay father. He's an okay basketball player. He definitely likes his drinks. He does not dress well. Like I may have a whole bunch of ideas about you that's not what you would prefer to present. But even in me having done an analysis or an assessment about you that is not as flattering as you would want for me to perceive, I still think Mac is a cool dude. Ultimately, for whatever reason, and I said, there are people in our lives that we look at and we're like, well, yeah, no, I want to make that decision with that outfit. That's interesting that you felt comfortable leaving your house looking like that, or just certain words that they use, certain vocabulary, certain spaces that they operate in. And it gives you an idea of them. But for whatever reason, you're just like, oh, yeah, that's what James does. That's a James thing. But James is still someone you want to hang with. So the point is that regardless of what you do, people are going to have a perspective on you that's never going to be what you would prefer for them to think about you, unless you're Jay-Z. But I'm sure people who are Jay-Z see him and still say, oh, wow, I can't believe he's a billionaire. I mean, the man can't even speak 2 words. Everyone has a perspective. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we still give each other grace. So I think the fear is a lot of times people choose to be inauthentic because they're so careful about wanting to curate this persona, this personality, when in fact, number one, that probably blocks your grace and your blessings way more than being yourself. And when you're yourself, that just now happens to be a nuance about you that is somewhat interesting to people. Do you know what I mean? So ultimately, it's still better for you to be more authentic than not. That was what I said.
Okay. So, yes, we definitely discussed that. And I think the way that I'm going to, because I don't know that we like said one, two, and three. And I may have had a different idea of the one, two, and three, but I think it all definitely, correlates. If not correlates, it's like I can see the point. I remember us definitely having that discussion about, this whole idea where you're sitting here worried about, whatever image it is that you're putting out of yourself. I remember that was a very clear, and that was a very insightful and impactful statement, when we talked about this, and when you talked about this, because it was like, you could sit here and contort yourself all day long. You are sitting here trying to present a specific image. You're not being your authentic self. You're trying to present a specific image. You're doing all of this stuff. You're wearing a mask. You're like, oh my God, how do these people think? I think they think this way. This is how I'm supposed to act. And you're doing all of this, everything that you can, and yet and still, this person is still gonna have, like, there is no one that escapes it. There's no Jay-Z. The person that I would actually think could possibly be that person, and I'm pretty sure is not.
Barack. You were going to say Barack Obama?
No.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure Michelle Obama would be looking at him like, what? And he says this himself, like,
Yeah.
the hell is this dude doing? And his daughters or whatever. The only person that I was going to say that about, but if I really think about it, that's probably definitely not true, is Warren Buffett. Like, everybody that I know of really loves this dude. But this
His
is a man.
children probably have. His children.
Yeah,
say-
his children,
yeah.
probably close people. This man had 2 wives or
Yeah,
something. For the I mean, I don't know if he married them, but he left his
One wife.
his
or-
one wife and then started living with somebody else. So some people may have some issues with respect to that. And I'm pretty sure he has upset people taking over their companies and all that other stuff. So so like, you can do all of that stuff and people will inevitably have a negative opinion on you. So why are you sitting there, like, slaving to try to present an image when you cannot escape from having a negative opinion, or negative, quote unquote? It's like an opinion that you wish other people didn't have of you.
Less than
so-
ideal from your perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, the reason why I wouldn't put that as number 3, it to me is just an insightful statement that makes you recognize why you should stop trying to be somebody else, or stop trying to lower yourself or what you truly are, or what you feel like you are, because somebody's going to have some opinion of you. And so for me, the other thing that we talked about was accepting your multiplicity. And that's what I
That's a
had
great
talked
point.
about.
Yeah.
I talked about that initially, and with Moses Sumney, and Moses Sumney, is a guy who's Ghanaian, and he's also had a similar experience in terms of having to, like, we talked about this with you, because after I read his article on his I guess his life, in essence, like, he was born here, left, like, his parents thought he needed to go back to Ghana to be raised, and then he spent some time in Ghana. When he came back, like, he recreated himself. Like, he said, here's what I know of who I want to be. And so, like, it's that kind of a thing that I feel like a lot of people do not get to do. I feel like
That's why
when we talked
travel
about
is
that,
important. Yeah.
when you talked about that, you said when you came back, when you entered high school, you said to yourself, you know what, after I came back from Nigeria, I wasn't feeling as comfortable as I was. Like, I was always this cute girl and whatever. Now I had to, deal with all these people. And then you decided, you know what, when you were entering high school, I'm going to go and be who I was. And I think that's what started you on a journey much earlier than a lot of people, certainly me, in becoming your authentic self. Whereas most of us are like, because we started so young, taking on the narrative that people have of us, do not have that same idea that they can be different. And so, this is what was true to me, the idea that people are going to say, you are a college student, you should not be behaving that way. You are a woman, you cannot be doing, like, no, I I can be multiple different people, and I am in fact multiple different people, and I'm not going to allow for anybody to tell me that I've got to be in this box that you want to put me in. And so that to me was the third piece, is accepting your multiplicity, because I think that, at least for me, and I'm assuming for a lot of other people, when you find yourself struggling with what your authentic self is because you find yourself in a place. This is precisely why you have code switching. You find yourself in a place where you're not sure if you can be one way or another way, and you're struggling between the two. You have, your legs on one side and the other, and the truth is that you can be whatever the fuck you want to be. Be who you are at that moment, and don't stress who you happen to be displaying at that moment. Who you were in a previous time, who you're trying to be, whatever it is at that particular moment. Accept your multiplicity, accept who you were, accept who you are, accept all the people you are at the moment, and accept who you aspire to be, and be okay with that. As long as you feel comfortable, that is your authentic self, and don't be stressing over the idea that you're not one way or another way, because that is a sure sign of how you're not going to be your authentic self, because you're trying to be one thing when, what you're feeling right now is the other thing, or what you're feeling right now is whatever the hell you're feeling right now, and that's your authentic self, whether or not somebody expects you to be a different way at that particular time.
Yeah. That's a great point. And what actually drilled it home for me in terms of the boxes we put people in, and how difficult it can be even for us who want to give folks the room and the grace to be their multiple selves, is what's the dad who turned into a woman?
Kris Jenner.
Yeah. Is that his name? No.
Yeah, Jenner. Well, no, the wife is Jenner. Bruce Jenner. Yeah, Bruce Jenner.
For me personally, as much grace as I want to give people who want to present in a lot of different ways, you're a man, now you want to dress in women's clothing and all of that. It was very difficult for me to think of an athlete. I think the fact that he was an athlete, like this macho man doing all this stuff, whatever it is, choosing to present in a way that is completely different from what we would think was a struggle for me. But I think that basically speaks to it. Why can't you be someone who is competitive, looking to break records, looking to compete with men in the traditional self? And why can't you have that person be in the same body as someone who is interested in wearing beautiful dresses and makeup and all of that, right? So when you think about, being comfortable with your multiplicity, I think that is a good example of that. Now, I don't think all of us are exist on such an extreme spectrum where I can operate, in this space and then also all the way on the other end of the extreme. But yeah, I mean, there are people, who look at me and we talk about this, who, I may like certain things, or I may present a certain way, and if I enjoy a little ratchet music or whatever it is, like, oh my God, who is this person? I don't know if this is you, she's putting up a front, when it's like, no, I like all of the above, you know what I mean? So I think you can want to evolve yourself in certain ways. You can want to travel in certain spaces, move with certain people, and still like certain things that are out of the norm. So I think that's really the essence of multiplicity, is you don't have to justify yourself first of all, you just stop justifying yourself to anybody. There's no need to try to explain it. It is what it is. This is where we are. Do I like it? I'm going to then give breath to it. And I actually think that's enough. I think a lot of people run themselves ragged. And I try to tell my girls this, because, if you've thought of this, if you like something, if you don't want to do something, if this is your opinion, the mere fact that this is coming out of you is enough. You don't need to justify. But why do you want to? Who cares? I want to do it. Here we are. You know what I mean? Like, don't even try to justify, because you start psyching yourself out. Well, maybe I shouldn't. If everybody else don't like it, no, you like it, do it. You want it, do it. You know what I mean? Do you. That's the essence of that. So, yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay, we are 1 minute and 44 seconds
Yeah.
in. And like we were 45 minutes in before. Like how the hell did we spend a whole
I
60
know.
minutes?
We're a lot. We do a lot. And to recap, though, I think, the point we're trying to make is, in order for you to live your best life, you have to occupy your most authentic space as much as possible. And it's going to be an ongoing battle. I don't think it's an easy thing. I don't think it's a battle that's fought once and won, and it's a constant questioning. So the ways that I think we are trying to occupy that space more and more are sort of 3 or 4-fold. Number one, question, understand what your most authentic self is. Understand how you feel when you're most authentic and try to figure out a way to replicate that. Number 2 is understanding that, your opinion matters, your perspective matters, right? So, we're all human beings, so there's no need for you to carry yourself to, present yourself a certain way to other people. Everyone is struggling just like you are, we don't have gods walking around us. So if that's the case, you're a human being just like I am, then I'm going to fight for my perspective and be okay with it. So that's 2. And 2.5 for me was, what was it again?
So you can't, whatever it is that you do, you can't prevent people from seeing you in a negative light.
You can't.
Or in a way that you would prefer them not see.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how perfectly you've tried to curate yourself in your life. People, we just have a way of reading each other that gets closer to the truth than what it is that you're trying to present. And sometimes that truth is where the humanity lies. That's where people feel a connection to you. That's what makes you your unique self. And that's what people are drawn to. So you might as well try as best as possible to feel comfortable with that space, because you can't present a perfect image of yourself. And then lastly, which I think is probably the biggest takeaway of this, is I agree with you, is embrace your multiplicity. I mean, we're so many things, and it's okay. You don't have to choose one narrative of yourself. At any point, one thing I remember, and I hold on to all the time, I have the right to change my mind. I said that yesterday. I mean, I'm always quick. I'm like, because you and I do it. You'd be like, Bolo, you said this yesterday. Huh, that makes sense. This is how I'm feeling today. This is how I'm feeling today. I know that this feels very real to me. And tomorrow I may be arguing the exact opposite. But right now, I can tell you why this feels right to me. This is what I'm feeling. It is what it is. You have the right to change your mind. You have the right to be as many people as you want. Do you. If you came up with it, then it makes sense. You don't need to try to fight it. So just go with it and do you. But yeah, there we go.
All right. Hopefully people listen through to the end, because the nuggets, I hope you were entertained enough to listen through to the end. But, because I think the nuggets are definitely at the end. But, we are experiencing this, and hopefully you're also going through your own journey. This is what all Some Days Today is. We're not experts.
No.
We are going through our experiences and analyzing it and coming up with our thoughts on it. And hopefully it helps you. And hopefully we don't change our minds the next day.
We may change our mind. We may come back next episode and be like, I'm sorry, who said what now? Actually, I've had people be like, wow, on this episode you said this. I'm like, wow, really? I was saying a lot. I had no idea. So who knows? Today, this is how we feeling. And we just going with the flow. So thanks again for listening to Someday is Today, where we encourage you
to live your life like it's a fucking vacation.
Yes, that's great. Okay, babe, go ahead and stop this.
Stop the madness.